Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kirby in the Forgotten Realms. In book number 87, Kirby and his pet, Elfilin, I don't fucking know. They fight a dragon or some shit.
What?
I mean, you can give Kirby the dark, black skin Meta Knight eyes. So he could be a Drow Kirby, I guess, if he wanted to. Although, is there a Kirby that lives underground? This is where me not playing Superstar as much as some of the other Kirby fans kind of messes with me, because...
I mean, I guess if you want to call Great Cave Offensive on living underground, because it is a giant cave network.
I mean, there's a bunch of random ass shit in that game.
Now I'm picturing Kirby just invading a dark elf settlement and swallowing everyone.
Yeah, that... Yeah, but in Forgotten Realms though, Drow are like almost exclusively just like evil people, right?
Somewhat. There was a period of time where there was a good subset of Drow serving another city, and that was an interesting storyline because there was this other goddess who was just trying to lead them away from being evil. But I think that eventually failed. There was a period of time where there was an overabundance of good Drow characters, and at some point I think Wizards sort of overcompensated by creating way more evil ones.
Yeah, I mean, I know that in general, this group of sentient beings is exclusively evil is something that a lot of tabletop games have been trying to steer away from. Just in general, because it doesn't
okay,
make
so
a
don't
lot of
have
sense.
Ted do the tilt and tumble playthrough. Gotcha.
God, this mini game is I mean, it's no Twilight Princess ball rolling game, but in the hard mode it can get a little annoying. And here I'm just being stubborn. No, I'm not. I'm being practical here. There we are. Thankfully, this isn't for anything important. You just have to do it.
You do need to do it for 100% though.
Yeah.
Well, the tabletop game, the Forgotten Realms did try to steer away from that for a little while, because they did this whole storyline where the orcs were, forming a civilization and all. But I don't know, maybe people didn't like it, or maybe they realized they kind of needed an unambiguously evil race in their tabletop setting so that players had enemies to fight that didn't make them feel guilty. But
so people don't mind fighting, having bad things to fight. I think the thing that people were having issue with was, where races like goblins or orcs, when they were characterized as being sentient creatures, with families in a language and culture and whatnot, and then them just being evil by default, where that just doesn't make much sense. So nobody cares about fighting zombies or whatever, or I think kobolds, nobody cares about kobolds because kobolds have always just been little assholes.
That's not true.
Enough.
Actually, the Forgotten Realms has the Kobold Bard. What's his name? Oh, he's like the goddamn mascot of the series. But you meet him in the first expansion in Neverwinter Nights 2. No, Neverwinter Nights 1. I think he appears in 2. And
okay, well then I'm wrong about that.
He's actually an epic level companion by the time you get to the second expansion of Neverwinter Nights. So not only is he a Kobold Bard, but he's a Kobold Bard at end level power. So
how the hell did a Kobold get to level 20? What kind of crack DM runs the Neverwinter Nights games, huh?
The answer to that, since Neverwinter Nights is a tool set that anyone can create adventures in, is everyone. But the Kobold Bard was created by an external studio, I think.
Okay.
But BioWare kept it in when they made the Hordes of the Underdark story, so...
Wait, BioWare did, the D&D games?
Yeah, they did Baldur's Gate, they did Neverwinter Nights.
Oh, wow. So they did that before they did, Mass Effect and whatnot?
Baldur's Gate was, for all intents and purposes, the starting point of all the tropes they'd use in Mass Effect and Dragon Age. So, Dragon Age itself was their attempt at a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, kinda, sorta. This looks really annoying, by the way.
No, it's fine.
It gets hard. It gets harder.
Yeah, there's the hard mode with the
without the orange walls there.
I hate
Yeah.
Did these tilty things use motion control?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. I believe there is a non-motion option.
Well, that would be even worse, but the motion control on the Switch is not perfect for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really miss the Wii IR pointer like a lot. Actually,
well, it's good enough for gyro aiming because you can do that by feel, and the occasional fluctuations in where neutral is don't necessarily hit you as hard. But for tilting stuff, like, it never felt accurate in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, you mean like the ball puzzle for that? Yeah.
The frickin' yeah, like for that, I eventually just gave up and turned the entire tilting puzzle upside down. And I think everyone.
I had to do it legitimately because I couldn't figure out how to do the cheese strat.
The cheese strat. Oh, you just tilt your motion
controller
control
upside down
all the way to the side until the thing turns upside down, and then you let the ball land on the underside, and just sort of
surprise, surprise. There's no maze on the underside.
You tilt the thing down so that the ball slides toward the goal, and then you catapult it upwards so that it bounces into the target. It might take 2 or 3 attempts, but it's pretty easy to do.
I think the problem I had was I had trouble like trying to flip it so that the thing ended up on the backside.
Yeah, you have to like literally turn your controller upside down to make it happen. But yeah. It's a lot easier when you have like the Pro controller in your hand, so you can just like turn it around. If you're playing,
that's probably what it is. I played 80% of that in handheld mode.
If you're playing handheld, you'll have to contort yourself so that the system is above you.
Ugh, yeah, it's just I mean, I know that in general a lot of gamers have moved away from motion controls, and for me, like, I've always been more open to them, but they're a tool that's not fit for every game. However, with that said, Metroid Prime Remastered has about like 50 goddamn control options, and I'm just sad because none of them feel as natural to me as the Wii version did. So I don't know. I'm sad.
Does it not have a gyro pointer option?
I'm pretty sure it does.
It does have a gyro pointer option. The problem is that in a game like Breath of the Wild or Splatoon, you use the right stick to change your camera, and then in like big motions, and then you use the gyro to make smaller motions to adjust your aim and be precise, which is good. In Metroid Prime Remastered, you use the motion control on the Joy-Con or on the Pro controller as if it were a Wiimote. So like you have to point to the right in order to turn right, and point to the left in order to turn left, which just doesn't feel right when you also have a control stick right there, and it's also not as accurate or sensitive as the IR pointer on the Wii. So like you're turning a lot slower, and you don't get the precision you had. It just maybe,
I mean, like, you can't turn with the stick and point at the screen with the gyro?
No, you can't. You only point, and you have to like point to the right in order for the screen to turn right.
That's so weird.
Yeah, especially considering that like literally every other Nintendo game with motion aiming like this, like Splatoon, Breath of the Wild, that's how the Doom versions on Switch control if you have the motion control on it. So I don't get it. I did see, however, Nintendo Life posted a video today where they said they have something like recommendations for how to get the controls on Prime Remastered to feel good, and I didn't have time to watch it because I only saw it right before we were starting. So maybe they have the solution.
It's so weird because
for nothing.
I would have expected that to be an option. So I'm just like
same. When I saw the trailer for Prime Remastered, I was super excited and was thinking that it would control exactly like that. So, you know.
I mean, I'm more than happy to stick with twin stick controls, especially if they.
I hear the twin sticks work really well.
If they have the option to like use the gyro to fine tune your aim, but
yeah, I just like the option. That's all. Also, hi King Dedede.
How do they do it? Every single game, King Dedede's theme is a bop.
It's just because it's like one of the best pieces in the series. I don't know what to tell you, but like the original version, the Superstar version, the Brawl version, especially, like this version where they like have like the hus, which just like really like hit really well. I don't know. It just is a bop. It's just one of the best themes the series has.
Yo, King Dedede, I'm liking the tribal overtones.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like the theme that the bad guys go, is that they're the beast pack, so like they're like bestial, which is neat. So I like that he's got like the caveman
Ooh, nice.
robe.
First try.
Yeah, King Dedede's honestly not that hard. Both versions of him actually are some of the easier fights in the game. It is fun though, for sure.
I get the feeling that the other bosses were designed around gameplay ideas for a boss fight, rather than them deciding, hey, this one needs to be a big gorilla, and then them struggling to find out what a gorilla can do in battle.
Yeah, that's generally kind of the vibe as well. It also helps that aside from DDD, all the bosses in this game are new, so they had a lot of flexibility. Well, okay, there's
Kirbo.
also this one,
Kirbo behind you.
yeah, there's that like scene where they interrupt the end of stage stuff. That was great. I love that. Oh no, they took our Scrunko. No.
I love it when games do things that defy the expectations of the interface. Like using the gamey stuff in a game to do cool little story moments.
Yeah, it's like you're wondering, oh man, that guy in that RPG walked up and whacked him with the sword and it said miss. Why did that happen? But when they actually use it for a gag, it's like, yeah, while you're doing your stupid dance, King Dedede would have time to get back up and steal a sword. So, it works. I also do like that they made Dedede not like... He's not threatening necessarily, because he's still just kind of King Dedede, but they did make him appear competent, which is nice, because he's been kind of a big old doofus for a while.
Also, original Wasteland. Pun. That pun.
See, this is actually one of my favorite stage themes in the game.
I don't know. I guess video games have dulled me to desert things because...
Oh, I meant the music for this stage. Although I do like this area's aesthetic.
Well, I mean, I was talking about the music too.
Oh yeah, that is fair.
This track does have like that trademark video game desert sort of music to it.
It's the instruments. I don't know what you call these specific type of strings, but they have a very like Arabic kind of sound to them.
Yeah, this music was all over Aladdin, if I remember.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm an uncultured swine and don't know what any of these instruments are called.
No one on our side of the ocean knows what these instruments are called, except like the actual music students, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I just one thing that I like about this this desert area is instead of it just being sand, they really lean into the inhospitable. There we go. That I said it right. Nature of the landscape. Like, yeah.
Also, if you pay attention, all the vegetation is like corals and stuff, so we're in a dried out ocean.
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, man.
You just realized that?
Oh, well, that's actually a pretty clever environmental aspect to this place, because they say it's the wasteland where life began, but life began in the oceans.
Yeah, and that's like an oil rig on the ground there. Well, no, that's more like a buoy. But yeah. Fuck. Oh, and is that oil? God, I thought it was just like purple Dragon Quest poison mud.
Well, it kind of is. Like, when you think about it, it's like sort of a mixture of toxic sludge that's leaking out of that like plant that you can see off to the side. Yeah.
Again, like John brought it up in his review too. Hi, John. Where are you? I miss you.
Wish you were here.
Yeah. It's fine. He's busy. I don't know, like having a life or something. But in his review, he brought up how there's all of this like set dressing and world building for this game that like the game doesn't even pay all that much attention to. And I don't know, I just love that kind of shit. When you notice it.
Some of the most fascinating stuff in gaming is stuff that comes from, is stuff that's left implied or is worked into environmental storytelling. And part of the reason for that is that it leaves a lot to the player's imaginations. Like, you can tell a fairly basic story and make it 12 times more interesting if you just come up with clever ways to let the audience participate in their own storytelling experience.
Yeah. That was part of what I liked about Hollow Knight, in that, like, the lore behind Hollow Knight is not that, like, complex. It's like there was this weird purple orange illness and they tried to seal it away. Like, that's it. That's the lore. But it's all about, like, again, how players discover that and how they present it that matters.
It's one of the strengths of video games as a medium, is that, the story isn't controlled by the positioning of the camera or the layout of words on a page. It's controlled by where the player goes and what they decide to look at along the way.
Yeah.
So
it also allows for moments when you revisit something, because every time you read a book or watch a movie, it is ultimately the same movie or book each time.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there are things that you notice the second time through, but they were still there. You just didn't notice them. Versus when you're playing a video game, depending on the type of game, there is content that you can see on your second playthrough that you legitimately could have missed the first time you played the game.
I mean, I'm not saying that necessarily every game should go non-linear with its storytelling or be all coy and vague with how they present the story elements. I'm just saying that some developers should maybe lean back a little from cinematic convention in how they present things.
I think God, the word cinematic is just like a God. It annoys me. Because the whole cinematic thing, I think, is a very mid-2000 holdover of, ooh, look how fancy we can make this game look now. It looks like it's a movie. Which, I mean, like, great. It's great that we have games that look pretty enough now and have the tech to be sophisticated enough to have the kind of detail that a movie with VFX could do. But with that said, like you mentioned, if you were trying to make something cinematic, you're ignoring the element of the medium that actually can differentiate it from just a movie.
Well, yeah. The thing about the different narrative mediums, the different storytelling mediums that we have, is that if you think about it, all of them are sort of built on top of each other. There's writing, which is, writing books, writing poems, writing everything. That as its own medium, writing is really interesting and flexible just by itself. But writing is also a component of all the other mediums. So when you move on to music as a medium for creativity, writing is a part of it, but it's not the whole. You do other things on top of the writing to make the thing go. And then when you get to movies, to television, to cinematic mediums, you have writing, and you have music, and you have all these other stuff built alongside it to create a completed whole. And then when you get to video games, all of the techniques used in movie making can also apply, but you have other things built on top of those and around those to make something completely different. It's like a big old Russian nesting doll of creative techniques, stuff built inside of other stuff that all makes things bigger and more complicated and expands what you can do.
It's also why, some things work better in some mediums than others. Like, I don't think that anybody has ever gone to a movie adaptation without being like, oh, the book was better. And it's like, well, the book was probably better because the story was intended to be a book and not a movie.
The thing is, like, the old Roger Ebert meme about how games will never be art. That's kind of like, that's always kind of like kind of like really annoyed me because it's that same kind of mindset that leads certain creators and certain critics to miss the full scope and potential of the medium. Oh, more secret HAL rooms, huh?
This one actually isn't a HAL room, which is weird. It's just kind of here. There's like, it's not even like a Waddle Dee back here or anything. There's just like a lot of money.
It's just a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of money in a capsule.
Yeah. I don't know like why.
It's because someone looked at the castle in the background during development probably and thought, you know what gamers back in the day used to think to themselves when looking at the backgrounds of video games? I wish I could go and explore those hills. I wish I could go and explore that castle. Well, let's let them do that this time.
Yeah. It also like, especially with Kirby games, going back to, I believe, like,
Vincent?
the original, like going past where you're supposed to go and like going into a secret room in what looks like the background has been around since the original Kirby games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think this is trying to be a callback to that, except you're not going into a moon because it's 3D and it's light outside.
It's kind of just a secret that's playing on your expectations. A lot of players are going to like rub themselves up against the background of everything, and eventually one of those is going to realize that what they expected to be an invisible wall isn't one. So they're going to run into the background to see how far they can go. And here's just a room for them to explore.
He was just doing his job, Kirby.
Yeah, the hotel service was awful. They wouldn't even let me plug in my Xbox. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Seriously, though, hotels, please let us use the HDMI ports on your goddamn TVs. Thank you. This message was brought to you by the I've been to too many conventions where we weren't able to play Mario Kart in the hotel room gang.
Yeah, if hotels could get away with it, they'd probably have game streaming services tied to their rooms.
Oh, man, where you like paid for the Game Pass for 6 hours and then you could,
yeah.
You could, God. Isn't that basically like Google Stadia? Wasn't that like the whole idea behind that? Although I assume that would have been like a monthly.
Well, I mean, there are several active game streaming services now. PlayStation Now has one. Although there is actually a functional reason for that, since it lets you play PS3 games on the substantially different PS4 and PS5 hardware.
So, but like for that, is it like playing a cloud version where it's not running on that hardware, or is it just
it plays a cloud version of any game that you can't download and run natively on the hardware that you're on. So you can stream all the games on PC, you can stream the PS3 games on the PS5, that kind of thing. And it's actually a pretty clever service in that way, because like if you're on a PS5 and the game is compatible with the PS5, you can just download the game and play it that way. And that's the optimal way to do it. But it lets you stream the stuff that you would need another system to play.